It seems that rather than exaggerating parts of the body, Egyptian artists chose to show each part from its clearest angle.
To understand exactly what that means, let's take the body parts one by one. Suppose they want to make a painting or a wall carving of me. Well, starting with the chest, they'd want to show that front on to emphasize its characteristic V shape. But my face would be seen more clearly in profile, like so. And to make the image less complicated, they'd want me to be two-dimensional. But it doesn't stop there. Even though my chest is being shown front on, my arms can still be put together if it shows more clearly what they're doing. Showing the left hand as different from the right hand was just unnecessary. They preferred to show them palms outwards and all the fingers a nice uniform length. What's more, seen from straight on, legs and feet aren't very distinctive, so they'd be shown sideways too. Last but not least, my head. Because however clear my face might be in profile, my eyes would be seen from straight on.
I think we can safely say that this is an unrealistic image of the body. But could the reason the Egyptians created bodies like this explain the unrealistic images of today? To find out, I wanted to know if this was just a style favoured by certain artists or something more significant. The answer couldn't have been clearer.
Take this image here. It's got all the aspects you saw me turn into earlier. Fix that in your mind. Okay? Now, come along with me.
That image is found in the oldest part of the great temple of Karnak. There are many impressive monuments in Egypt, but this place is truly awesome. Karnak wasn't built all at once. It was added to, bit by bit, by successive pharaohs and generations of craftsmen. Walking through these columns, you walk through time. You can get lost in hundreds of years of Egyptian history. Which is why it's the perfect place to see just how Egyptian art changed over time. The image of the body I just asked you to fix in your head was carved in about 1900 BC.
Where I am now was built a full 700 years later. Over 50 million Egyptians had lived and died. And in all that period, just look, the way they depicted the human body hasn't changed a bit.
And that's just what you see here. But in fact, the Egyptian style didn't just last 700 years. It lasted 3,000. And in all that time, this was the only image of the body that anyone ever saw.
Just think of that happening today. Take, say, one of those Picasso paintings with the arms and legs and eyes all over the place. Now, imagine that was the only image of the human body you ever saw throughout your life. And then imagine it was the only image of the human body your children saw, and every generation up to the 41st century.
Something powerful had made the Egyptians preserve this style for an immense amount of time. But what was it? The answer to this lies back underground. Not far from Karnak is the tomb of a priest called Ramose. Ramose was connected. His brother was chief artist to the pharaoh. So before his death, work began on decorating his tomb with some exquisite paintings and reliefs. But before it was finished, the pharaoh died. His brother lost the job, and work ground to a halt. Bad news for Ramose. Good news for us, because on one of the unfinished walls, archaeologists found some telltale signs, clues to why the Egyptian style never changed. Traced across the surface of the plaster are the fine red lines of a grid that covers the entire body. They analysed this grid, recording numerous details. The figure was 19 squares tall. The feet were 2.5 squares long. The pupil of the eye was 1 square off the centre line. They then applied this same grid to other images from all over Egypt. Sure enough, they fitted. This is why the style remained unchanged for so long. Egyptian society clearly didn't want it to change. Their images were driven by a shared obsession with consistency and order. Precisely the cultural values on which the entire civilization had been founded.